And welcome back to the second half hour of The Factor Uncensored. Dwyane Wade is defending his transgender teen daughter, Zaya, once again. The criticism is coming from his ex-wife. She's gone to court and filed a petition to block Zaya's gender and name change. Dwyane has since responded in an Instagram post writing, quote, "I'm very disappointed that she continuously finds ways of centering herself and her needs without regard to her children." Let's talk about it. Joining us here on The Factor tonight is parent Lewis Hunter and Caleb Elijah, an equal rights advocate who also happens to be a transgender man. So Caleb, before we get into this, you've been a regular here on The Factor, but
absolutely.
Tell your backstory really quick.
Oh, well, you know, like you said, I've been doing trans rights for a long time. Transitioned about 15 years ago.
And born female,
yes, correct.
Live your life now as a male.
Correct. And so, you know, it's been a journey. And one thing doing this work and just being is that we face discrimination based off of ignorance. Mm-hmm. There's a lack of education, there's a lack of resources, there's a lack of information, especially when it comes to queer kids, when it comes to transgender kids, and when it comes to non-binary kids, especially in our culture as African Americans. We don't really see that because we see all of that as taboo and we don't really discuss that. And so what we see here happening is we see policing by one parent and we see protecting by another parent. And what we don't understand is a lot of what we're calling protecting is policing. Zaya has already, you know, begun transitioning and presents as female. And so what we got to understand is that gender marker and name change, those things are going to be important when you're presenting yourself for a job. You know, if you show up presenting one way, right, but your identification says male, or it has your previous name, then that can place you in harm's way, and it could also prevent you from getting a job because all of those things need to match.
Absolutely, people. I don't want to deal with that. So, Lewis, as a father of two sons, your thoughts on what Dwyane Wade has done, has accepted, and continues to move forward with?
I think this has snowballed since his child was 11 years old. I do agree with him that that when you do have an adult that has to present themselves, and how you present yourself is important. We're talking about an 11-year-old kid here who went to his father and said, "Look, I'm identifying as a girl." Number one, I believe that should have been kept private within the household. Mm-hmm. But that has snowballed into, we were talking at one time, gender reassignment with Wade, with Dwyane Wade, the child's father. And now we're talking about name change. I support the ex-wife in saying, wait a minute, let's wait till this child is 18. That's not unreasonable. That's not an unreasonable request for a parent. If the shoe was on the other foot, well, let me also say this. I also think that I question the motivation of Dwyane Wade to make everything so public. When there's reports that the ex-wife had a meeting with Dwyane Wade, and he had made comment that he wanted to somehow monetize this, that somehow she was looking at it, this would help for endorsements with Disney and other companies. I question the motivation for a father to peddle his child's sexuality out in public like this. For what reason?
Now, Caleb, if this is in fact Dwyane Wade peddling or using or taking advantage of his child's sexuality for monetary gain, that would be a problem to you too.
Absolutely, but here's the problem. You guys, everyone keeps calling it sexuality, and I think that's the problem that no one gets. Gender identity and sexual orientation are two different things, right? So when we're talking about gender identity, we're talking about how someone feels about their gender. And so it looks like, well, Dwyane Wade is exploiting, right, Zaya Wade, because when it's romanticized, it's sexualized, but this is about identity. And so it's interesting because, you know, we shun him for protecting his child, right? But I take it like this: if your child had cancer or some other kind of, what you would call an illness, you would go to great lengths to make sure your child was protected, to make sure your child had the best care. And so we say that about everything else.
But really quick, what about putting your child's issues out so publicly? I don't think the child is saying, Dad, let's go public with this.
Correct.
Let's put this on social media. Let's talk about it on TV.
But here's the thing. I think parents don't give their children enough credit for being able to express themselves. And so I've sat in rooms and I've done conferences with tweens who are non-binary and who are gender fluid and who are transgender. And actually they've been able to articulate how they feel, right? Better than I could ever, or anybody at that age.
Before we run out of time, let's break it down.
But respectfully, I mean, my children, my oldest being 27 now, if my kid wanted to eat Skittles in the morning for breakfast, I didn't have to go along with that. I didn't have to support that. We're talking about a child, and again, this is snowballed from 11 years old, and everything that this child seems to be going through. Dwyane Wade has put it out on Front Street for the public to see, and I question the motivation of it, particularly when he has made comments to his ex-wife purportedly that he has a plan for her to monetize this. So that is pimping your child out.
So,
30 seconds.
Okay, so my question is, let's just be honest about it. Is it Dwyane Wade putting out there? Come on, they're millionaires, they're billionaires. That's going to be public information.
Who else is putting if your child says, I feel like a girl, who else is going to put that out there? He's telling her dad that.
But who cannot? They are celebrities. It's no different than if something was to happen with Blue Ivy. That would be public knowledge.
Not unless somebody put it out there. If a child if your child comes to you and says, look, this is what I'm feeling.
Correct.
The only person that can put it out is you, because you're the only one that has a platform.
But my thing is that we don't know what that child, see, you're looking at it from the lens of your child, but every child is not the same. And so we can't.
Out of time.
Go ahead.
We appreciate it, guys. We'll be back with more facts. Great conversation.